On my 30th birthday, I received a special gift. It wasn't a birthday cake, nor was it a celebratory text message. It was my parents showing up unexpectedly in my company with my younger sister in tow. My name is Feng Zhua, Vice President of Star Ocean Group, managing over 3,000 employees. At 28, I left the home that suffocated me and hadn't been back in 2 years. I never expected them to come looking for me. My sister, Feng Tingting, stood at the forefront, decked out in designer brands, an Hermes bag in her hand, and that familiar, smug expression on her face. My mother, Li Xiaofeng, wore a newly bought cashmere coat, but her eyes held a panic I had never seen before. My father, Feng Guoqiang, was in a suit and tie, yet he appeared exceptionally stiff. Seeing me walk out of the office building, my mother immediately put on a long-lost, benevolent smile. "Zhua, it's your birthday today. We came to celebrate with you." I stopped in my tracks, looking at them coldly. "Celebrate? In 28 years, which birthday have you ever celebrated for me?" The air instantly froze. My sister curled her lip impatiently. "Brother, what kind of way is that to talk? Mom and Dad came all this way to see you." I laughed. This sister of mine, spoiled since birth, didn't even possess basic manners. "See me? Or ask me for something?" My father's expression shifted, and he forced a calm demeanor. "Zhua, you're successful now. Dad is proud of you." "Proud?" My voice rose a few decibels. "That's not what you said when you kicked me out of the house." Colleagues passing by started to cast sidelong glances. My mother quickly grabbed my sleeve. "Zhua, let's talk at home. There are too many people here." "Home?" I shook her hand off. "I don't have a home." My sister's face instantly turned ugly. "Feng Zhua, don't go too far." I looked at her, and memories of our childhood flooded back. I remembered the 100,000 yuan diamond necklace she got for her 18th birthday. I remembered how on my 18th birthday, they had forgotten the date entirely. Too far? Feng Tingting, who do you think is going too far? The crowd of onlookers grew. My father's face darkened completely. "Feng Zhua, do you have any manners at all?" "Manners?" I sneered. Who was it that never taught me what manners were from childhood to adulthood? My mother started to wipe her tears. "Zhua, Mom knows we wronged you in the past, but you're successful now. Can't we just be a harmonious family?" I looked at her tears, feeling nothing in my heart. These tears came too late. "Li Xiaofeng, you remember I'm your son now? What about when you called me a burden back then?" Her tears flowed more fiercely, but I knew it wasn't out of guilt. It was out of desperation, because she knew that if I didn't relent this time, they would be truly finished. I took out my phone and checked the time. "Spit it out. What is it you want?" My father took a deep breath. "Tingting's company has run into some trouble." "Trouble?" I looked at my sister. Her face turned deathly pale in an instant. The Tingting Beauty company she ran looked glamorous on the surface, but in reality, its liabilities had long exceeded its assets. I had known about this for a while, because a few of her creditors happened to be my clients. "How much do you owe?" I asked. 8 million. My sister's voice was as small as a mosquito's. I nodded. To me, 8 million wasn't a huge sum, but to them, it was an astronomical figure. And my mother quickly interjected, "Zhua, you're so rich now. Please help your sister. Blood is thicker than water. She's your only sister." Blood is thicker than water? I remember when I was little, sick with a high fever. What was my mother doing? She was accompanying my sister to her piano lessons. I remembered right before my high school entrance exams, I secretly saved 3 months' worth of breakfast money to buy reference books. When my mother found out, she took the money and bought my sister a dress. She had said, boys should be raised poor, so they'll have ambition when they grow up. Girls should be raised rich, so they won't be deceived by men outside. And now she was talking about blood being thicker than water? 8 million, is it? I said, "I can give it to you." The eyes of all three instantly lit up. But on one condition, their smiles froze. I looked at my sister. "Feng Tingting, kneel." "What?" My sister thought she had misheard. "Kneel and apologize to me. Apologize for all the years you've looked down on and humiliated me." My sister's face flushed crimson. "Are you crazy? Why should I kneel?" "Because you need my money." My voice was calm. "If you don't need it, you can leave." My father erupted in fury. "Feng Zhua, how could you let your sister kneel? She's a girl." I looked at him. This father, who had favored my sister since we were children, was still the same. "She's a girl. So she's precious and can't kneel. I'm a boy, so I'm worthless and deserve to be wronged. You. Dad was speechless. The crowd of onlookers began to point and whisper. What's going on with this family? It seems to be the opposite of favoring boys over girls. They favor the daughter over the son. Now that the son is successful, they've come to ask for money. Mom's face was completely flushed with shame. Shout, Joie. Can we talk about this at home? So many people are watching. Home. I pointed to the office building behind me. This is my home. As for the place you live, it has nothing to do with me. My sister finally broke down. Feng Joie, are you crazy? Isn't it just borrowing some money? Do you have to humiliate me like this? Humiliate? I laughed. Feng Tingting, do you know what humiliation is? On your 12th birthday, Mom and Dad threw you a grand birthday party that cost 50,000 yuan. On my 12th birthday, Mom gave me 20 yuan and told me to go buy a cake for myself. When you were 16 and wanted an iPhone, Dad bought you the latest model without a second thought. When I was 16 and wanted a learning machine, I was scolded by Dad, who said that boys needed to endure hardship. For your 18th birthday coming-of-age ceremony, they held a banquet for you and even gave you a diamond necklace worth 100,000 yuan. On my 18th birthday, they even forgot it was my birthday. With every incident I mentioned, my sister's face grew paler, because she remembered all of these things. She had just never thought about what they meant to me. Now you tell me, what is humiliation? Mom's tears flowed even more fiercely. Shout, Joie. Mom knows she was wrong. Mom wasn't good to you before, but now Mom knows she was wrong. No, you were wrong. I interrupted her. Li Xiaofeng, what do you know you did wrong? Were you wrong to be biased? Wrong to treat your daughter like a treasure and your son like dirt? Or are you wrong because you need money now, and only then did you remember you have a son? She was questioned into silence. I looked at my watch. I'll give you 1 minute to consider. You can have the money, but she has to kneel and apologize. If you're not willing, you can get lost. Dad was furious. Feng Joie, she's your sister. So what? I looked at him. When you kicked me out of the house back then, did you ever think of me as your son? When I was sick and hospitalized, you didn't even come to see me once. Did you ever think of me as your son? When I was looking for a job after graduating from college and didn't even have 1,000 yuan in my name, did you ever think of me as your son? Each question was like a sharp sword piercing them. Dad's anger gradually subsided, because he knew that everything I said was the truth. Time was up. I turned to leave. Behind me came my sister's cry. Brother, I'll kneel. I'll kneel for you. I stopped in my tracks without turning back. I only heard the dull thud of knees hitting the ground. And my mother's cry. Shout, Joie. Tingting has kneeled. Look at her. She has kneeled for you. I slowly turned around. My sister was really kneeling on the ground, tears streaming down her face like rain. This princess, who had been held in the palm of their hands since she was a child, was finally kneeling before the brother she had looked down upon. The crowd of onlookers let out gasps of surprise. I walked up to her and looked down at her. Tell me, why are you kneeling? My sister bit her lip, and it took her a long time to squeeze out a sentence. I am sorry. Sorry for what? She looked up, her face streaked with tears and resentment. For not treating you well before. I shook my head. Not enough. What? I want you to list every instance of favoritism you enjoyed, every privilege, everything that wronged me over the years, one by one, and then apologize for them one by one. My sister's face was filled with complete despair, because she knew there were too many of these incidents. So many that she probably couldn't finish listing them even if she spoke for a day and a night. But for the 8 million, she had to speak. Kneeling on the ground, my sister began her long confession. I am sorry. When I was 6, I broke your toy airplane. Not only did Mom not scold me, she even bought me a new toy. I am sorry. When I was 8, I tore up your homework. You were punished by the teacher and had to stand while I was at home watching cartoons. I am sorry. When I was 10, I wanted to learn piano. Dad sold your bicycle to pay for my tuition. With each confession, a wave of discussion rose from the crowd of onlookers. Some started recording videos to post online. Some shook their heads and sighed. Some said this was karma. I listened with a blank expression, but inside, my heart was in turmoil. Each of these incidents was a scar on my heart. Hearing her list them one by one was like a knife slicing open old wounds. But I had to listen, because this was the price she had to pay. I am sorry. When I was 12, you wanted to participate in the math competition. The registration fee was 100 yuan. Mom said we didn't have the money. But the next day, she bought me a dress that cost 300. Mom was beside her, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. That's enough. That's enough. Ting Ting, stop talking. Keep talking. My voice was as cold as ice. My sister bit her lip and continued. I am sorry. When I was 14, you were hospitalized. Mom and Dad said they were too busy to stay with you. It turned out they were with me at my piano competition. I am sorry. When I was 16, you were bullied by classmates and came home with a bruised and swollen face. Mom said you were a boy and needed to learn to protect yourself, then turned around and asked me if I had a happy day at school. I am sorry. When I was 18, you got into a top university. The whole family didn't celebrate because that day was my birthday. The crowd of onlookers grew larger. Someone started to criticize my parents. How can parents be so outrageous? Favoring a daughter over a son to this extent is simply inhuman. It's really not easy for this son to have achieved what he has today. Dad could no longer keep a straight face. Fang Zhua, that's enough. Let Tingting get up. She's already apologized. I looked at him. Is she finished? What? Is she finished? All these years of incidents. Is she finished talking about them? Dad was stunned. My sister was also stunned, because she realized she had said less than a tenth of it. For so many years, she had enjoyed far too much favoritism, so much that even she hadn't realized it. Continue, I said. My sister broke down. Brother, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please don't torture me like this. Torture. I crouched down, looking into her eyes. Fang Tingting, do you know what torture is? When I was 20, I was washing dishes in a restaurant to earn my tuition fees. My hand was scalded. I called home, and Mom said she had no time because she had to go shopping for clothes with you. When I was 22, I was struggling to find a job, penniless. I called Dad to borrow 1,000 yuan. He said a man must be independent, then turned around and bought you a bag that cost 20,000. When I was 24, my business failed, and I was deep in debt. I wanted to come home for a few days to get myself together. Mom said there was no room because your friend was coming to stay. You tell me, what is torture? My sister was crying too hard to speak. She had never thought that her happy life was built on her brother's suffering. She had never thought that every time she received their parents' favoritism, it meant her brother had lost something. Keep talking. I stood up. You can only get up when you're finished. My sister could only continue. I am sorry. When I was 20, the money you earned from your part-time job was stolen. You wanted to borrow money from the family. Mom and Dad said you had to learn to take responsibility. But when I wanted to buy a car, they gave me 100,000 without a second thought. With each confession, the crowd grew more shocked. A middle-aged woman couldn't help but say, parents like this are truly too much. How can they treat their son this way? A young man shook his head. This must be the legendary case of favoring daughters over sons. It's even more terrifying than favoring sons over daughters. An old man sighed. It hasn't been easy for this child to get where he is today. If it were me, I would have cut ties with parents like these long ago. Hearing these comments, my parents' faces grew uglier. Mom said in a low voice, Xiaozhua, let's go home and talk. There are too many people here. Go home. I sneered. I haven't had a home for a long time. Li Xiaofeng, the day you kicked me out of the house, I no longer had a home. Now that you need money, you want to talk to me about family warmth? Mom was rendered speechless. My sister was still continuing her apologies. I am sorry. When you were 26, you finally succeeded in starting your own business and had some savings. The first thing Mom and Dad thought of wasn't to congratulate you, but to ask you to fund my company. I am sorry. When you were 27, you wanted to bring your girlfriend home for dinner. Mom said it wasn't convenient because my friends were coming over for a party. I am sorry. When you were 28, the day you left home, none of us asked you to stay. We even called you an ungrateful wolf. At this point, my sister couldn't go on. She knelt on the ground, sobbing until she was as limp as mud. Applause began to break out from the surrounding crowd. This brother did the right thing. A sister like that deserves to kneel. After more than 20 years of grievances, he deserves to vent his anger. I looked at my sister kneeling on the ground, feeling no pleasure in my heart, only emptiness and a deep exhaustion. The grievances I had suffered over the years would not disappear because of her apology. Those painful memories would not be erased by her tears. But at the very least, I wanted them to know how much harm their casual favoritism could bring to the one who was neglected. Get up, I said. As if granted amnesty, my sister stood up, trembling. Her knees were already scraped and bleeding. I'll give you the money. I took out my phone. But there are conditions. All three of them looked at me at the same time. First, this $8 million is the price I'm paying for your apologies over the years. From now on, we owe each other nothing. My sister nodded hastily. Second, from this day forward, we sever all ties. Don't look for me again for any reason. Mom couldn't help but say, Xiaozhua, we are a family after all. A family? I interrupted her. Li Xiaofeng, when do you think we were ever a family? Was it when you decorated your daughter's room like a princess's chamber and used mine as a storage room? Was it when you bought your daughter the best clothes and made me wear cheap street stall knockoffs? Was it when you were frantic over your daughter's smallest troubles but were indifferent to whether I lived or died? When were we ever a family? Mom was left speechless by my questions. I continued to operate my phone. Third and last, I looked up at the three of them. From now on, don't mention me to outsiders. Don't say I'm your son, and don't say Fong Tingting is my sister. I don't want anyone to know I have a family like this. As my voice fell, I pressed the transfer button. 8 million received. My sister took out her phone to look, and the tears started falling again. But this time, it wasn't out of grievance, but shame. Brother, she wanted to say something. I've already said from today on, you're not to call me brother. I turned to leave. We are strangers to each other. Behind me came my mother's cries. Xiaozhua, Xiaozhua, come back. Mom knows she was wrong. I didn't turn back. I didn't stop for a single step, because I knew these tears came too late. 28 years of favoritism and neglect could not be compensated for by a few drops of tears. I walked into the office building, the sounds of crying gradually fading behind me. The moment the elevator doors closed, I heard the security guard shooing them away. Stop crying here. This is an office building, not a wet market. Good. This was the ending I wanted. Let them have a taste of being despised. Just like how they despised me back then. Back in my office, I thought I would feel a sense of satisfaction. But in reality, I only felt emptiness. The 28 years of hatred and resentment were not vented by the revenge I had just taken. Instead, it left me feeling even more exhausted. My secretary, Xiao Lu, knocked and entered. Mr. Fong, are you still attending the afternoon meeting? I glanced at the time. It was already 2 in the afternoon. The commotion downstairs had lasted for a full hour. Postpone it until tomorrow. I rubbed my temples. I'm not in a good state today. Xiao Lu nodded and turned to leave. Wait, I stopped her. Help me look into something. Yes, sir. Tingting Beauty Company. The specific details of their debt and who the creditors are. Xiao Lu was a little surprised, but she nodded in agreement. Okay, I'll go check right away. After she left, I sat alone in my office dazed. Actually, I had known for a long time that my sister's company was in trouble, because several of her creditors were my clients. They had approached me, hoping I would mediate. I refused at the time, because I felt it was the retribution she deserved. A princess who has been spoiled her whole life will one day have to pay the price for her willfulness. But I never expected that they would have the audacity to come find me, and with that tone of entitlement, as if it were my sacred duty to help her. The phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. Hello. Feng Shui, you've gone too far. It was my sister's voice. You made me kneel in front of so many people. Do you know that the videos have already spread online? I laughed. And? Do you know that everyone online is cursing me out? Calling me an ungrateful wretch, saying I deserve it. Isn't that the truth? Feng Shui, my sister screamed into the phone. You're my brother. How could you do this to me? I'm not your brother. My voice was calm. I already said it. From today on, we are strangers. I hung up the phone and then blocked the number. 5 minutes later, another call came in. Still an unknown number. I answered. Feng Shui, answer the phone. This time, it was my mother's voice. I'm your mother. You can't treat me like this. Li Xiaofeng, you're not my mother, I said. My mother died. She died the year I was 8. What? When I was 8, I had a fever of 40 degrees. You were with Fong Tingting at her piano lesson. I was at home, unconscious from the fever, and it was a neighbor who found me and took me to the hospital. In that moment, my mother died. All that was left was a strange woman who just happened to live under the same roof as me. My mother's crying came through the phone. Joshua, Mom knows she was wrong. Mom let you down in the past. I sneered. Li Xiaofeng. Do you even know the meaning of sorry? When I was sick back then, did you ever say sorry? When I was bullied by classmates, did you ever say sorry? When I couldn't find a job and was hitting walls everywhere, did you ever say sorry? Now that you need me, you remember to say sorry? Don't you think it's a little too late? I hung up and blocked this number too. But the phone kept ringing. One unknown number after another. I just put my phone on silent mode. Xiao Lu knocked and came in, holding a file. Mr. Fong, the documents you asked for. I took it and looked. Tingting Beauty Company, registered capital of 1 million, actual debt of 2 million. There were 7 main creditors, 4 of whom were my clients. The largest debt was to Mr. Wang's renovation company, 8 million. Next was Mr. Lee's advertising agency, 5 million. And then there were suppliers, rent, employee salaries, and so on. How could she owe so much money? I was a little surprised. Xiao Lu said, from what I understand, Ms. Fong Tingting's spending during her business operations was extravagant. The office renovation cost over 1 million, the company's annual party cost 800,000, and then there were various luxury purchases. I nodded. That was very much in line with my sister's character. A princess spoiled since childhood has no concept of frugality. There's one more thing. Xiao Lu hesitated. Mr. Wang and the others have approached me, hoping you would step in to mediate the debt issue. What did they say? They said that if Ms. Fong Tingting really can't pay it back, they are willing to accept installment payments. After all, you are our major client, and they don't want to offend you over this amount of money. I laughed. So that was it. Those creditors didn't really want the money. They wanted to give me face. 8 million wasn't a huge sum to them. But my sister and the others didn't know that. They thought these creditors would really back her into a corner. That's why they had the nerve to come and beg me. Tell Mr. Wang and the others that I will not get involved in this matter. The money Fong Tingting owes, she can figure out how to repay it herself. Xiao Lu nodded. Understood. After she left, I picked up my phone again. The screen showed over 30 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. I knew they were all from my parents, but I didn't want to answer a single one. I opened WeChat. As expected, many people had sent me video links. The titles were all similar. Parents who favor daughter over son get their comeuppance. Successful son makes sister kneel in the street. I clicked one to watch. The video was very clear, recording the entire incident from earlier. The comments section had already exploded. Parents like that deserve it. This brother did the right thing. She should be kneeling. Over 20 years of favoritism. This is the retribution she deserves today. Serves her right. This younger sister has been spoiled since she was a child. Now she knows how serious it is. Of course, there are also different opinions. No matter what, they're still family. Isn't this too cruel? Making his sister kneel in public. Is there something wrong with this brother's mind? Family conflicts shouldn't be resolved this way. It's too extreme. I turned off my phone. No matter what others said, I didn't regret it. I had waited for this day for 20 years. The door was knocked on again. This time it wasn't little Lu who came in, but my assistant, little Wang. Mr. Fong, a few people have come downstairs, claiming to be your family and wanting to see you. I frowned. Didn't I say I wouldn't see them? They said they have something important to tell you about your sister. Little Wang was in a difficult position. The security guards have stopped them several times, but they just won't leave. I thought for a moment and said, let them come up. A few minutes later, my father, mother, and sister appeared at my office door again. They looked even more disheveled than before. My sister's eyes were swollen like walnuts, my mother's hair was a mess, and my father's suit was wrinkled. Speak, what is it? I sat in the boss's chair, with no intention of asking them to sit down. My sister stammered, Brother, Mr. Fong, I want to tell you a secret. What secret? She took a deep breath. Actually, I've always been very envious of you. I was stunned for a moment. What? I envy that you can earn your own money, that you don't have to rely on anyone. I envy that you have your own career, your own achievements. And what about me? I can't do anything but spend money. I can't do anything but rely on mom and dad. As she spoke, tears streamed down her face again. Did you know? I've actually always been very scared. Scared that one day mom and dad will be old and can't dote on me anymore. What would I do then? That's why I wanted to start a company, to prove that I can also be independent. But I was too stupid, I didn't know anything, and I ruined the company. I looked at her, my heart feeling somewhat complicated. This was the first time I had heard her admit her incompetence. From childhood to adulthood, she had always been the genius girl who was praised. She played the piano well, had good grades, and was beautiful. I had never thought that she actually had her own fears and insecurities. But what could this change? And then, I asked. My sister bit her lip. I want to learn from you. Learn how to do business, how to live independently. You want to learn from me? I laughed. Fong Ting Ting, do you think that's possible? Why is it not possible? Because in 26 years, you have never once treated me as a brother. My voice was calm. In your eyes, I have always been that clumsy, dispensable person. You have never respected me, never cared about me, never treated me as family. Now that you need me, you remember to call me brother? You remember to want to learn from me? Don't you think it's too ridiculous? My sister was rendered speechless, because she knew that everything I said was true. Over the years, she had indeed never treated me as a brother. In her eyes, I was just a dispensable person, a fool who was never as good as her. Now that she was in trouble, she remembered that I was her brother. It was indeed ridiculous. The atmosphere in the office grew heavier and heavier. My sister stood there, not knowing what to say. My mother wiped her tears, secretly glancing at my expression. My father clenched his fists, clearly trying his best to control his temper. I looked at the time. Is there anything else? If not, please leave. I still have work to do. My father finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Feng Zhua, what on earth do you want? We don't want the money anymore. And Ting Ting has knelt. What more do you want? I raised my head and looked at him. Feng Guiqiang, you've gotten one thing wrong. What? It's not what I want, but what you want. I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. From the moment you appeared downstairs at my company, it was you who were begging me, not me begging you. I've already given you the money you wanted and met your demands. Now it's time for you to leave. My mother suddenly knelt down. Little Zhua, Mom is begging you. Please forgive Mom. Mom knows she was wrong. Mom will definitely make it up to you in the future. I turned around and looked at her coldly. Li Xiaofang, what are you doing? I'm kneeling to you, begging you to forgive me. Mom cried, her face streaked with tears. We are mother and son, after all. You can't really disown me as your mother. I walked over to her and squatted down. Mother and son? Li Xiaofang, when have you ever treated me as your son? I've always treated you as my son. Really? I laughed. Then let me ask you a few questions. Go ahead. What is my birthday? Mom paused for a moment, then said, March 15th. I shook my head. My birthday is February 28th, which is today. You don't even remember your own son's birthday, and you say you treat me as your son? Mom's face instantly turned deathly pale. I remembered it wrong. Second question, what did I major in at university? This. Mom stammered for a long time, unable to answer. I studied business administration, I said. Third question, what is the name of my company? Mom was completely speechless because she realized she didn't know a single thing about me. My company is called Shanghai Group. I am the vice president, managing over 3,000 employees with an 8-figure annual income. These are things any stranger could find online. But you, my mother, don't know a single one. You tell me, when have you ever treated me as your son? Mom cried, too hard to speak. I stood up. Li Xiaofang, kneeling and begging for my forgiveness? Don't you think it's ridiculous? When I was sick, when I was bullied, when I needed a mother, where were you? You were accompanying Fong Ting Ting to her piano lessons, buying clothes for Fong Ting Ting, celebrating Fong Ting Ting's birthday, protecting Fong Ting Ting from any grievance. At that time, did you ever think that I was your son? With each question, Mom's face grew a shade paler, because she knew that everything I said was the truth. All these years, she had indeed never truly cared about me. In her heart, her daughter was everything. Her son was just a burden. Now that you need me, you remember you want to be my mother? You remember you want to talk about the deep bond between mother and son? Don't you find it too disgusting? Mom lay prostrate on the floor, her body shaking with sobs. Dad couldn't watch anymore and want to pull her up. That's enough, Li Xiaofang. Get up, let's go. No, I won't go. Mom shook off Dad's hand. Xiaozhua, Mom really knows she was wrong. Please give Mom another chance. I looked at her, feeling no ripples in my heart. This woman, when I needed a mother's love the most, gave me countless moments of cold indifference. Now that she needs me, she wants me to give her a chance? On what grounds? Li Xiaofang, chances are a two-way street, I said. I gave you countless chances back then to be a real mother, but you never cherished a single one. Now it's your turn to need chance. Why should I give it to you? Mom was sobbing, gasping for breath. Because I am your mother. You are not. My voice was calm. My mother died a long time ago. The one kneeling before me now is just a strange woman feigning pitifulness for money. This sentence completely broke her. She lay on the floor, unable to say another word. Dad's expression grew uglier and uglier. Fang Shui, you've gone too far. Too far. I looked at him. Fang Wuqiang, have my words gone too far, or have your actions gone too far? When you kicked me out of the house back then, did you ever consider my feelings? Now that I'm speaking a few truths, you think it's too far? When I was suffering all those grievances back then, why didn't you think it was too far? Dad was rendered speechless, because he knew these things were all facts. Over the years, they had indeed been very unfair to me, but he had never thought about how much damage this unfairness would cause me. Not until today, not until I laid these injuries bare before them one by one, did they realize the severity of the problem. But it was too late. The damage was done, and it was irreversible. I walked to my desk and pressed the intercom. Xiao Lu, have security come up. Yes, President Fang. A few minutes later, 2 security guards walked into the office. Mr. Fang, is there anything we can help you with? I pointed to my mother, who was sprawled on the floor, and my father and sister standing beside her. Please escort them out, and don't let them into this building again in the future. Understood. The security guards walked towards them. The 3 of you, please come with us. My mother still refused to get up. Xiaozhua, you can't do this to your mother. You can't really abandon your mother. The security guard looked at me. I nodded. The 2 guards took one of my mother's arms each and dragged her up. Let go of me. Let go of me, my mother struggled. Xiaozhua, you can't treat your mother like this. I turned my back to them. I've said it before, I don't have a mother. From this day forward, we are strangers. The guards dragged my mother out, with my father and sister following behind. Just as they were about to leave, my sister suddenly turned her head. Brother, I know you hate us, but don't you think this is a bit too cruel? I turned back and looked at her. Too cruel? Fang Tingting, compared to what you all did to me back then, what is this? My sister lowered her head, speechless. So, the favoritism she had always taken for granted was a fatal blow to her brother. So, her brother's heart had accumulated so many years of resentment and grievances. I'm sorry, she said in a small voice. The words I'm sorry are too cheap, I said. Fang Tingting, if sorry was useful, there wouldn't be so much hatred in this world. Then what do I have to do for you to forgive us? I thought for a moment and said, there's no way. Some wounds can never be forgiven. Some relationships can never be repaired. It's like a mirror. Once it's broken, it's broken. No matter how you try to glue it back together, it can never be restored to its original state. Between us, we are that broken mirror. My sister's tears streamed down again. But this time, it wasn't out of grievance, but despair. She knew she had truly lost this brother. Lost him forever. The security guard urged them, the 3 of you, please do not linger here. They were finally dragged away. The office returned to tranquility. I sat back in my chair and suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of relief. It was as if a huge rock that had been pressing on my heart for 28 years had finally been moved away. The next morning, I received a report from Xiao Lu. Mr. Fang, yesterday's video has gone viral online, with tens of millions of views already. I nodded, not surprised. This is the age of the internet. This kind of controversial video spreads very quickly. What's the public opinion like? Most netizens support you, thinking you did the right thing. But there are also some who feel you were too extreme. I smiled. That's normal. It's impossible for everyone to understand. Xiao Lu hesitated for a moment and said, "There's one more thing. Several media outlets want to interview you." "Refuse them," I said without a second thought. "I don't want to hype this up into a news story." "Understood." After Xiao Lu left, I began to handle company affairs. But I felt absent-minded. Although yesterday's events had allowed me to vent my anger, they also brought back those painful memories. Those forgotten grievances resurfaced in my mind. Around noon, my assistant, Xiao Wang, knocked and came in. "Mr. Fong, there are people downstairs again." I frowned. "Is it them again?" "No. This time it's an old lady who says she's your grandmother." I was taken aback. "Grandma?" "My grandmother is over 80 years old, has always been in poor health, and rarely goes out. Why would she come here? Let her come up." A few minutes later, my grandmother walked into my office leaning on a cane. The 83-year-old woman's hair was completely white and her back was hunched, but her eyes were still sharp. "Grandma, why are you here?" I quickly got up to help her sit down. Grandma looked at me and sighed. "Ah, Xiaozhua, Grandma saw the video online." My heart tightened. "Grandma, you did the right thing," Grandma said suddenly. I was stunned. "What?" I said. "You did the right thing," Grandma repeated. "Grandma knows all the wrongs you've suffered all these years. Your parents were unfair to you. Grandma wanted to tell them off long ago. But Grandma is old, and my words don't carry any weight anymore." My nose started to sting. Growing up, only Grandma had genuinely doted on me. But she's old, and she doesn't live with us, so she can't help me much. "Grandma, don't say that." "Xiaozhua, Grandma wants to tell you something." Grandma took my hand. "Actually, your father suffered the same kind of grievance when he was a child." "What?" "Your father had a younger brother, your uncle. Your grandparents also favored their younger son and were not very good to your father. So, your father swore from a young age that when he had children, he would treat them fairly. I didn't expect him to follow the same old path, and even more excessively than your grandparents." I was a little surprised. I didn't expect my father to have had such an experience as a child. Then why did he want me to go through the same pain? "Maybe it's because Fong Tingting is a girl," Grandma said. "Your parents always feel that girls should be raised with wealth, so they gave her all the good things. But they forgot that a son also needs love." I nodded. "Grandma, did you come today to persuade me to forgive them?" Grandma shook her head. "No, Grandma isn't here to persuade you. Grandma is here to tell you that you did the right thing. Some people won't know what pain is until they've suffered a bit. Your parents have enjoyed the pleasure of favoritism all these years, and now it's time for them to bear the consequences of favoritism. As for Fong Tingting, she has been spoiled since childhood. It's a good thing for her to encounter setbacks now." I was a little surprised. I didn't expect Grandma to support me like this. "But Grandma also wants to tell you not to let hatred ruin your life," Grandma said. "The revenge that should be taken has been taken. The anger that should be vented has been vented. From now on, live your own life well. Don't always think about the past. That will make you unhappy." I nodded. Grandma was right. Revenge is only a momentary pleasure. True happiness must be created by oneself. "Grandma, don't worry, I know what to do." Grandma smiled and took a small box out her bag. "This is a birthday present from Grandma." I opened it and saw a watch. It was a very old watch, but it was well maintained. "This was left by your grandfather. He said it should be passed on to the most promising grandson," Grandma said. "Grandma thinks you are the most promising." My eyes grew a little moist. "Thank you, Grandma." Grandma stood up, ready to leave. I wanted to see her off, but she waved her hand. "No need to see me off. Grandma can walk by herself." "All right, Xiao." Grandma walked to the door and suddenly turned back. "If your parents come looking for you again, just do what you think is right. Don't worry about blood ties. Those are all empty things. Only those who are truly good to you are worth cherishing." After saying that, Grandma left. I watched her hunched back, a mix of feelings in my heart. In this world, there weren't many people who truly doted on me, but having Grandma's support was enough. In the afternoon, Xiao Lu came to report again. "Mr. Fong, President Wang, and the others would like to see you. They say it's about Miss Fong Tingting's debt." I thought for a moment and said, "Let them come over." Half an hour later, President Wang, President Li, and a few other creditors arrived. They were all my old clients, and we usually had a good relationship. "Mr. Fong, regarding Miss Fong Tingting's debt, we'd like to discuss it with you." President Wang said, getting straight to the point. Go ahead. We saw the video online and know that your relationship with your family is rather complicated, President Li said, so we've decided not to pursue Ms. Fong Tingting for the debt anymore. I was a little surprised. Why? Because we don't want to make things difficult for you, President Wang said. Although Ms. Fong Tingting does indeed owe us money, this amount is nothing to us. We care more about our cooperative relationship with you. If we continue to pursue the debt, it might affect your mood, and that would not be worth the loss. I shook my head. Everyone, a debt relationship is a debt relationship, and a business relationship is a business relationship. You shouldn't give up your legitimate rights because of me. But, no buts, I interrupted President Wang. Fong Tingting owes you money, and she must pay it back. This is her responsibility to bear. The $8 million I gave her yesterday was for her to pay off her debts. If she doesn't pay, you should sue her or enforce the judgment as you see fit. The creditors looked at each other, and they all saw admiration in each other's eyes. Mr. Fong, we understand, President Wang said. You are a man of principle, and we admire you for it. Then let's handle this according to legal procedures. I nodded. That's for the best. After the creditors left, something suddenly occurred to me. The $8 million I gave my sister yesterday, would she really use it to pay off the debt? With her personality, it's highly likely she would take it and continue to squander it. I picked up the phone and called my friend at the bank. Old Zhang, help me check something. 10 minutes later, Old Zhang called me back. Mr. Fong, you guessed right. Of that $8 million, she only used $1 million to pay off debts. The remaining $7 million were all transferred to her personal account. I gave a cold laugh. Just as I expected. A leopard can't change its spots. Fong Tingting had been spoiled since she was a child and had no idea what responsibility meant. Her first reaction upon getting the money wasn't to pay her debts, but to continue her life of pleasure. Fine, since she didn't cherish this opportunity, she couldn't blame me for being harsh. I picked up the phone again and called CEO Wang. CEO Wang, I just checked. Fong Tingting only paid back $1 million. The rest of the money was squandered by her. What? CEO Wang was furious. This woman is too much. So, just handle it as it should be handled. You don't need to consider my feelings. Okay, Mr. Fong, we know what to do. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair and let out a long sigh. 3 days later, in the morning, I was processing documents in my office when Xiao Lu rushed in. Mr. Fong, something's happened. I looked up. What is it? Miss Fong Tingting has had enforcement carried out by the court. Her house and car have been seized. Now she and your parents are homeless, living in a small motel. I nodded, my expression calm. And then they want to see you. They say they have something important to tell you. No, I refused without a second thought. I've said it before, from now on, we are strangers. Xiao Lu hesitated for a moment. But they said if you don't see them, they'll go to the media and cry, saying you're watching them die without helping. I sneered. Threatening me? They really don't give up. I put down the documents in my hand. Fine, let them come. I'd like to see what other tricks they have up their sleeves. Half an hour later, my parents and sister appeared in my office once again. But this time, they were in a more wretched state than the last. My sister's hair was a mess, her clothes were wrinkled, and she had completely lost her usual polished appearance. My mother's eyes were swollen like walnuts. She had clearly been crying for a long time. My father's face was ashen, and he looked furious. Fong Zhua, you are too heartless, my father began to accuse the moment he entered. Tingting doesn't even have a place to live now. Are you really not going to do anything at all? I leaned back in my chair, looking at them coldly. Fong Wuqian, you've got one thing wrong. What? Fong Tingting's current situation is her own doing, not mine. It was her own mismanagement that led the company to bankruptcy. It was her own extravagance that led to her being deeply in debt, and it was her own failure to repay her debts that led to the court enforcement. What do any of these things have to do with me? My sister said, crying, Brother, I know I've done a lot of wrong things, but I'm truly at a dead end now. Can you help me, please? Help you? I laughed. Fong Tingting, I've already helped you. $8 million, wasn't that enough? But that money was squandered by you, wasn't it? I interrupted her. I investigated. You only used $1 million to pay off your debts. The remaining $7 million you spent on luxury goods. A Louis Vuitton bag for 100,000, a Cartier watch for 200,000, an Hermes scarf for 50,000. You tell me, is this what you call a dead end? My sister's face instantly turned deathly pale. She never expected that I would check her account. Even less did she expect that I would describe her extravagant spending in such detail. The air around us seemed to freeze. My mother said with a trembling voice, "Ting Ting." She was just momentarily confused. Momentarily confused? I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Li Xiaofeng, do you think this is being momentarily confused? Knowing full well she was 8 million in debt, knowing full well creditors were after her, the first thing she thought of was not to pay the debt, but to continue her pleasure-seeking. That's not called being momentarily confused. That's called a leopard never changing its spots. I turned around and looked at my sister. Fang Tingting, you've been spoiled since you were a child. You have no idea what responsibility or consequences are. Do you think everyone in this world will indulge you like mom and dad? Do you think you could be forgiven just by crying a little after you've done something wrong? Reality will teach you that no one in this world owes you anything. My sister cried even harder. Brother, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Can you please give me one more chance? A chance. I sneered. Fang Tingting, you've already used up all your chances. The first chance was when I gave you 8 million. You could have used that money to pay off your debts and start over. But you chose to squander it. The second chance was when the creditors were prepared to give you an extension. You could have made a repayment plan and paid it back slowly, but you chose to run away. Now you're telling me, how many more chances do you want? My sister was rendered speechless because she knew that everything I said was the truth. She had indeed wasted all of those opportunities. My father suddenly knelt down. Fang Zhuo, Dad is begging you. For the sake of our blood ties, please save your sister. Looking at my father kneeling on the ground, I felt nothing. I even found it somewhat ironic. This man, who had been so high and mighty throughout my childhood, this father who had never bowed his head to me, was now kneeling before me for his daughter. Blood ties. I walked up to him. Fang Wuqiang, so now you remember our blood ties? Back then, when you favored Fang Tingting, why didn't you think about our blood ties? My father lay prostrate on the ground, trembling all over. Fang Zhuo, Dad knows he wronged you in the past, but what? I interrupted him. But now that you're in trouble, I should just forget the past and help you? On what grounds? On the grounds that you ever gave me warmth? On the grounds that you ever cared about me? On the grounds that you ever treated me like family? You've given me nothing. On what grounds are you demanding everything from me now? My father was left speechless by my questions, because he knew I was right. Over the years, they truly had not given me any warmth, had not treated me like a real family member. To demand my help now was indeed unreasonable. But as a father, watching his daughter in a desperate situation, he couldn't just stand by. Fang Zhuo, no matter what, Ting Ting is your sister, Dad said, his voice choked with sobs. Can you bear to see her end up on streets? I can, I answered without hesitation, very much so. This answer shocked all three of them. They clearly hadn't expected me to be so heartless. Also, Fang Wuqiang, let me correct you on one point, I continued. Fang Tingting is not my sister. I've already said it. As of 3 days ago, we are strangers to each other. She is just a stranger who happens to share a blood relationship with me. Why should I care if a stranger lives or dies? These words completely broke them. My sister slumped to the floor, crying in despair. My mother clutched her chest as if she couldn't breathe. My father lay on the ground, unable to utter another word. I glanced at the time. If there's nothing else, please leave. I have to get back to work. My father suddenly lifted his head, his eyes filled with venomous hatred. Fang Zhuo, you will regret this. I raised an eyebrow. Regret? Fang Wuqiang, what do you think I will regret? You'll regret being so heartless to us today, Dad said through gritted teeth. One day, when you need family, you'll understand how precious kinship is. I laughed. Family? Kinship? Fang Wuqiang, you've got one thing wrong. What? I've had a family for a long time now. I've been enjoying kinship for a long time. I took out my phone and showed them a picture. It was a photo of me and my girlfriend, along with her parents. This is my girlfriend, Su Qing. We're planning to get married next month. These are her parents. They treat me very well, better than their own son. With their family, I felt what true family warmth is, what real kinship and love are. So, I don't need a family like you, and I couldn't care less about kinship from you. The three of them looked at the photo, their faces growing uglier by the second, because they could see my happiness in the picture, the kind of happy smile they had never once given me. Suqing's parents know about my past. They feel for me and say they will treat me like their own son. I continued, they did something you never did. What? My sister asked in a small voice. Treated me like family. This sentence, like a sharp knife, stabbed viciously into their hearts, because they knew it was the truth. All these years, they had never truly treated me as family. In their hearts, there were only 3 family members: Dad, Mom, and their precious daughter, Fong Tingting. As for me, at best, I was just an outsider lodging in their home. Now, this outsider had found his real family and no longer needed them. They panicked. Xiaozhua, no matter what, we are still a family bound by blood. Mom tried to make a final struggle. I interrupted her. Li Xiaofeng, blood is thicker than water? Do you believe that? Mom was taken aback. What do you mean? I mean, if blood ties were really that important, why did you treat me like that back then? If family affection is truly thicker than water, why could you watch me suffer and remain indifferent? Now that you need my help, you bring up blood relations? Don't you think that's hypocritical? Mom was rendered speechless. I walked to the desk and pressed the intercom. Xiaolu, have security come up. Mr. Fong, is it those 3 again? Yes, please have them leave. And don't let them into this building again in the future. Understood. A few minutes later, the security guards arrived again. They were already very familiar with these 3 people. Shall we escort you out again? The 3 of you? The security guard's tone was polite, but his meaning was clear. Dad suddenly stood up, pointing at me and roaring. Fangzhou, you ungrateful wretch. We raised you for over 20 years. Is this how you repay us? I looked at him and said calmly, Fang Wuqiang, you raised me for over 20 years? Did not. Yes, you did spend some money on me. I nodded. But that was a parent's duty, not a favor. Moreover, the money you spent on Fong Tingting was more than 10 times what you spent on me. According to your logic, Fong Tingting should know how to show gratitude more than I do. Why can she spend your money with a clear conscience, while I must be eternally grateful? Because she is the daughter, and I am the son? Dad was choked up again, because following his logic, that was indeed the case. They invested more in their daughter, so their daughter should indeed be more appreciative. But now that their daughter was in trouble, her first thought was to escape, not to take responsibility. Instead, it was the son they had neglected who had succeeded, become independent, and was capable of helping them. This contrast made him feel a deep sense of irony. Take them away, I said to the security guards. The guards nodded and began to usher them out. The 3 of you, please don't make this difficult for us. This time, they didn't resist anymore, because they knew that no matter how much they struggled, it was useless. I had completely decided to cut ties with them. Before leaving, my sister suddenly turned her head. Brother, if one day we are really homeless on the streets, will you truly not care? I looked at her and answered seriously, I won't. Even if we die, I still won't. My sister's face instantly turned deathly pale. She finally understood that this brother truly didn't want them anymore. Completely, forever, he didn't want them. They were dragged away. The office returned to silence. I sat back in my chair, took out my phone, and sent a message to my girlfriend. Let's have dinner tonight. I have something to tell you. Soon, Su Qing replied. Okay, what's so mysterious? I smiled and replied, good news. About our future. Putting down the phone, I looked out the window. The sky was very blue, the sun very warm. A new life was waiting for me. As for those old matters, let them go with the wind. I will never look back. A month later, Su Qing and I held our wedding. The wedding was very warm, attended by friends and colleagues who truly wished us well. Su Qing's parents are very good to me, truly treating me like their own son. During his wedding speech, my father-in-law said, Xiaozhua is a good kid. We are very lucky to have such a son-in-law. My mother-in-law told Su Qing in private, I feel that Xiaozhua is more filial than many biological sons. Hearing these words, my heart felt very warm. It wasn't brought about by blood ties, but earned through sincere treatment. The wedding went very smoothly. The only interruption was the appearance of my parents and sister. They weren't invited, but they came anyway. They stood outside the wedding venue, looking in through the glass doors. I saw them, but pretended I didn't. Su Qing noticed the change in my expression. What's wrong? It's nothing. I smiled. Let's continue with our wedding. After the ceremony, when we walked out of the hotel, they were still waiting outside. My sister looked even more haggard, completely devoid of her former glamour. My mother's hair had turned much whiter, and she looked several years older. My father's back was even more hunched, and his complexion was very poor. They tried to approach, but were blocked by Su Qing's parents. My father-in-law said with great authority, "Today is Xiaozhua's big day. Please don't come and cause a disturbance. We are his family." My mother tried to explain. If you were truly his family, you would be happy for his happiness, not cause trouble here, my mother-in-law said. Su Qing took my hand and whispered, "Let's go." I nodded. We got in the wedding car, ready to leave. Through the car window, I saw my sister crying, my mother chasing after the car, and my father standing frozen in place. But my heart felt no ripples. These people were already just passers-by in my life. Su Qing squeezed my hand. No regrets. Regret what? Not having your family's blessing at your wedding. I looked at her and smiled. But I do. Who? You. And Uncle and Annie and all these friends who are genuinely good to me. Aren't they my family? Su Qing's eyes grew a little misty. Feng Zhua, you are truly strong. It's not strength, I said. It's acceptance. Family affection isn't innate. It needs to be nurtured and maintained. Why should people who have never given me any warmth demand my affection? Instead, it's you outsiders who have given me the feeling of home. So in my heart, you are my family. Su Qing held my hand tightly. Then let's live our own lives well and not be disturbed by anyone anymore. I nodded. Okay. After returning from our honeymoon, we began our newlywed life. Su Qing was gentle and considerate, managing the home in perfect order. My father-in-law and mother-in-law also visited us often, bringing all sorts of delicious food. My mother-in-law always said to me, "Xiaozhua, treat this as your own home. Don't be a stranger." This feeling of being cared for made me very happy. This was what true family life was. At work, things were also getting smoother and smoother. The company's performance was booming, and I had also earned the board's recognition. The CEO told me that I might be promoted to general manager next year. Everything was developing in a positive direction. The only thing that surprised me a little was that my sister and parents hadn't given up. Every now and then, they would appear downstairs at my company or wait for me on my way home. Each time, they put on a pitiful act, trying to win my sympathy. But I never once stopped for them. To me, they were just three strangers. Three annoying strangers. One time, Su Qing couldn't help but ask me, "Doesn't it bother you that they keep pestering you like this?" I thought for a moment and said, "It is a bit annoying. Then should we think of a way to get rid of them for good?" "What way?" Su Qing hesitated for a moment and said, "Move." I shook my head. Moving won't solve the problem. They know my company address. Then what should we do? I pondered for a while and said, "Make them lose all hope." How do we do that? Let them know that I truly will not help them anymore. No matter what difficulties they encounter, I will not get involved. Sui Nadith, I support you. Thank you. That night, I made a decision. The next day, I had Xiao Lu post a statement on my personal social media. In view of the recent moral blackmail directed at me through blood relations, I hereby solemnly declare, I, Feng Zhua, have severed all ties with Feng Guojiang, Li Xiufeng, and Feng Tingting. From now on, whatever difficulties they may encounter have nothing to do with me. Please ask them not to carry out any more activities in my relatives' names. Otherwise, I will seek legal recourse. As soon as the statement was issued, it immediately caused a huge reaction. Netizens expressed their support one after another. Well done. It's better not to have such a family. Finally, he's being tough for once and not being morally blackmailed. This is the attitude a truly successful person should have. Of course, there are also some different voices. No matter what, they are related by blood. Isn't this too extreme? If family members make mistakes, just educate them. There's no need to sever ties, right? But the voices of support were clearly more numerous. Because most netizens had seen their true colors in the previous videos and knew they had indeed gone too far. On the afternoon the statement was issued, they came again. This time, they didn't come to beg me, but to question me. My sister rushed up to me with red eyes. Feng Zhua, what do you mean by issuing that statement? I looked at her and said calmly, exactly what it says. How can you deny our relationship in front of the whole world? Because we don't have a relationship to begin with. We are brother and sister, my sister practically roared. Biologically, yes. I nodded, but not legally, emotionally, or socially. You, Fong Ting Ting, I issued this statement to make you give up. I interrupted her. I will no longer have anything to do with you, regardless of whether you are alive or dead, rich or poor. It has nothing to do with me. Are you really that heartless? My mother asked, crying. Heartless? I sneered. Li Xiaofeng, am I heartless, or are you? When you heartlessly mistreated me back then, did you ever consider my feelings? The three of them were rendered speechless, because they knew that what I said was the truth. When they were heartless to me back then, they indeed did not consider my feelings. Now that they are in trouble, on what grounds can they demand that I not be heartless? Feng Zhua, we know we did many things wrong in the past, but let the past be the past. My father finally spoke. We are in real trouble now. Just help us. Let the past be the past. I looked at him. Feng Wuqiang, do you think it can pass? 28 years of indifference and hurt. You say let it pass, and it passes? If it could really pass, why would I have issued that statement? It is precisely because it cannot pass that I want to completely sever ties with you. My father's face turned ugly. Feng Zhua, don't force us to do something extreme. I raised an eyebrow. Something extreme? Like what? Like we'll jump off the building at your company's entrance, or go to the media and say you refuse to save us from death's door. I laughed. Go ahead. What? I said, go ahead. I repeated. If you want to jump off a building, jump. If you want to go cry to the media, go cry to the media. I've already issued a statement severing ties with you anyway. None of your actions can represent me. As for public opinion, I don't care. Those who support me will naturally support me. And as for those who don't, I don't need their support either. This answer completely shocked them. They didn't expect me to be so resolute, not even afraid of threats. Do you really not have any feelings left at all? My mother asked in despair. Feelings? I thought for a moment and said, Li Xiaofeng, if you're referring to feelings for you, then no, there are none left. From the moment you started treating me like an outsider, my feelings for you died. To me now, you're just three strangers. Three strangers who annoy me. My mother collapsed on the floor, crying her heart out. My sister also squatted on the ground, holding her head and sobbing. Only my father remained standing, but his face was ashen. I glanced at the time. If there's nothing else, please leave. I'm getting off work. With that, I picked up my briefcase and prepared to leave. As I walked out of the company's main entrance, I heard my father's angry roar from behind me. Feng Zhua, you will regret this. You will definitely regret this. I didn't turn back and got directly into the car. In the rearview mirror, I saw the three of them standing forlornly at the company entrance. They looked so small, so helpless, but there was no ripple in my heart. This was the price of their choice. When they chose to be biased, chose to hurt me, they should have thought of today's outcome. When I got home, Su Qing had already made dinner. How did it go? She asked with concern. It's handled. I washed my hands and sat down at the dinner table. No one should be bothering us anymore. Sui Nadith. That's good. We can live our own lives in peace now. During dinner, Su Qing suddenly said, Oh, right, I went to the hospital for a checkup today. I looked up. A checkup for what? Are you not feeling well? Su Qing smiled, a little shyly, and said, I might be pregnant. The chopsticks in my hand nearly fell to the ground. Really, it's not certain yet. We'll have to wait a few days to confirm. But the symptoms are very similar. I put down my chopsticks, walked over to her, and gently hugged her. That's wonderful. Su Qing leaned against my chest and whispered, If I'm really pregnant, do you want a boy or a girl? I thought for a moment and said, Either is fine. As long as it's our child, I'll love a boy or a girl just the same. Really? Of course, I said seriously. I won't repeat my parents' mistakes. Whether it's a son or a daughter, they will be our treasure. Su Qing's eyes grew a little misty. I knew you would be a good father. That night, we talked for a long time. We talked about our future child, about our plans, and about our hopes for our new life. This kind of warm family atmosphere was what I had longed for since I was a child. Now I finally had it. A few days later, the test results came back. Su Qing was really pregnant. When my father-in-law and mother-in-law heard the news, they were overjoyed. My mother-in-law immediately started arranging for all sorts of nutritional supplements, saying she needed to nourish Su Qing well. My father-in-law began planning for the child's future, saying he wanted to set up a fund for the child's education. This feeling of being cared for, of being loved, moved me deeply. This is how a real family should react. Not by calculating gains and losses, not by being biased and favoring one over the other, but with genuine love and support from the heart. In comparison, my so-called relatives were a complete joke. Just as I was immersed in the joy of becoming a father, the unexpected happened. That afternoon, I was in the office handling some documents when Xiao Lu rushed in. "Mr. Fong, something's happened." I looked up. "What is it?" "Miss Fong Tingting. She jumped off a building." The pen in my hand froze. "What?" "She jumped from an office building. She's being rescued at the hospital now." I was silent for a few seconds, then asked, "Is she dead?" Xiao Lu was a little surprised by my reaction. "No, but she's seriously injured. She left a suicide note before she jumped, saying she chose to commit suicide because you refused to help her." I nodded. And now there are a lot of reporters who want to interview you, to ask for your opinion on this matter." I thought for a moment and said, "I'm not accepting any interviews." "But, no boys, interruptez-vous. This has nothing to do with me." Xiao Lu hesitated for a moment and said, "But the public opinion online is very unfavorable for you right now. A lot of people are condemning you, saying you watched someone die without helping." I sneered. I expected as much. I picked up my phone and opened social media. Sure enough, condemnations were everywhere. "This Fang Zhua is so cold-blooded, his sister jumped off a building, and he doesn't even care. Blood is thicker than water. How can he treat his family like this? He disowns his own people once he gets rich. This kind of person will get his retribution sooner or later. He doesn't even care that his sister jumped off a building. Is he even human?" Of course, there were also voices supporting me. "This is moral blackmail again. Jumping was her own choice. This kind of woman just wants to use suicide to threaten her brother. She deserves it. Mr. Fong did the right thing. You can't be threatened by this kind of person." But the voices of condemnation were clearly more numerous and louder. Because in many people's eyes, no matter what happened before, if the sister jumped off a building, the brother should take care of it. This is the concept of blood ties in traditional Chinese culture. Blood is thicker than water. Family is family, regardless of right or wrong. But I don't think so. I posted a Weibo according to my own thoughts. Regarding Fong Tingting's jump, my attitude is very clear. This was her own choice, and it has nothing to do with me. I will not change my position because of anyone's extreme actions. Moral blackmail doesn't work on me. As soon as this Weibo post was published, it immediately sparked even greater controversy. Those who supported me felt I had strong principles and wouldn't be threatened. Those who opposed me felt I was too cold-blooded, inhumane. The debate grew more and more intense, even trending on the hot search list. In the afternoon, my parents came. This time, they didn't come to beg me, but to curse me. As soon as my mother saw me, she started crying and yelling. "Fang Zhua, are you even human? Tingting jumped off a building, and you're still here, being sarcastic. Her life is hanging by a thread. Don't you feel any heartache at all?" I looked at her and said calmly, "Li Xiaofang, Fong Tingting jumping off the building was her own choice. I didn't force her to jump, nor did I push her. She wanted to use this method to threaten me. That's her freedom. But don't expect me to change my attitude because of it." My father slammed the table angrily. "Fang Zhua, how can you speak like that? She's your sister." "I've said it before, she is not." My voice was cold. "Besides, Fang Wuqiang, have you ever thought about why she jumped? Because you refused to help her." "Wrong." I shook my head. "She jumped because she was spoiled by you since childhood, doesn't know how to take responsibility, and wants to escape whenever she encounters difficulties. When threats and crying no longer worked, She chose a more extreme method. This is a flaw in her character, not something I caused. My mother cried even harder. No matter what, she's in the hospital now, hovering between life and death. Can't you go see her? No. I refused without hesitation. If I go see her, it's tantamount to telling her that this method of threatening is effective. Then in the future, she'll only escalate, using even more extreme ways to threaten me. I cannot set this precedent. My father's face turned purple with rage. Feng Zhua, you truly have a heart of stone. Thank you for the compliment, I said. If having a heart of stone can prevent me from being hurt by you, then I would rather be a person with a heart of stone. This sentence completely infuriated my father. He rushed over, wanting to hit me, but was stopped by security. Feng Zhua, I curse you. I curse you to a miserable death. I looked at him and smiled. Feng Guiqiang, do you think curses work? If curses really worked, I would have cursed you long ago when you were hurting me back then. Now you're facing retribution. Is it because my curse worked? No, it's karma. You planted the evil seeds, and now you reap the bitter fruit. This is only natural. My father was rendered speechless, because he knew that what I said made sense. Over these years, it was indeed they who hurt me first, so it's only right that they face retribution now. Moreover, Feng Wuqiang, I need to remind you of one thing, I continued. What you're experiencing now is just the beginning. What do you mean? I mean, I will let you know what true despair is. What are you going to do? My father became a little fearful. I didn't answer, just looked at them coldly. In truth, I didn't plan to do anything to them, but I wanted them to feel fear. Just like the fear I felt from them back then. The security guards dragged them away. As she was leaving, my mother was still crying and shouting. Xiaozhua, Mom is begging you, please go see Tingting. I did not respond. That night, I told Su Qing about this matter. After she heard it, she was silent for a long time. Are you really not going to see her? Su Qing asked. No, I was firm. Once this precedent is set, there will be no end to it. Sui Nadith, I support your decision. But, are you truly not worried about her at all? I thought for a moment and answered honestly. It would be a lie to say I'm not worried. After all, we were once a family. But what I'm more worried about is that if I soften my stance now, she will only escalate things in the future. Rather than letting this kind of threat continue, it's better to resolve it once and for all. Su Qing held my hand. No matter what you decide, I will support you. Thank you. The next morning, I received a critical condition notice from my sister. She had hit her head when she jumped and was now in a coma. The doctor said the situation was not optimistic. When Xiao Lu came in with the notice, his expression was very complicated. Director Fong, this. I took it, glanced at it, and then placed it on the desk. Understood. Aren't you going to see her? No. Xiao Lu was a bit surprised. But she's critically ill right now. So what? I looked up at her. Xiao Lu, what does her being critically ill have to do with me? If she really dies, I will feel regret, but I won't have any remorse. Because this is the path she chose for herself. Xiao Lu didn't dare to say anything more. Around noon, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from Grandma. Xiaozhua, I heard about what happened with Tingting. Grandma's voice was heavy. Grandma, you did the right thing, Grandma said. Grandma supports you. I was a little surprised. Grandma, don't you think I'm too cold-blooded? Cold-blooded? Grandma gave a bitter laugh. Shout, Grandma has lived for over 80 years. What kind of person haven't I seen? Your sister's behavior. It's just using her own life to threaten you. If you soften your heart now, she will only push her luck further in the future. You can't spoil this kind of person. Hearing Grandma's words, the last bit of guilt in my heart completely vanished. Thank you for your understanding, Grandma. Xiaozhua, Grandma wants to tell you something. Grandma's voice became even more serious. Actually, all these years, your parents haven't just been bad to you. They've been very cold to me as well. What? Ever since Tingting was born, they rarely came to visit me. Every time I got sick, they would say they were too busy. But if Tingting caught a cold, they would immediately drop everything to take care of her. I saw through them long ago. In their eyes, there is only Tingting. Now that something has happened to Tingting, they finally remember they have other family members. People like that are not worthy of your sympathy. Grandma's words strengthened my resolve. Grandma, I know what to do now. Good child, Grandma trusts you. After hanging up the phone, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. My sister lay in the ICU for a week. During that week, the online debate grew more and more intense. Some people supported me, saying I had principles and wouldn't be threatened. Some people condemned me, calling me cold-blooded and inhuman. Some self-media outlets even did a special feature on me, analyzing the rights and wrongs of the incident. But I paid no attention to any of it. I went to work as usual, lived my life as usual, as if this matter had nothing to do with me. Su Qing's belly had started to show. We began to prepare the nursery and buy baby supplies. My father-in-law and mother-in-law also came over often to help, and our family was happy and harmonious. This happy life made me cherish it even more. It also made me more convinced that cutting ties with that family was the right choice. On the 7th day, my sister finally woke up, but the doctor said that her brain had been damaged, which might affect her intelligence and memory. Simply put, she might become mentally disabled. I was in a meeting when I heard this news. Xiao Lu came into the conference room and whispered it in my ear. I nodded and continued to preside over the meeting, as if what I had heard was just an insignificant piece of news. After the meeting, Xiao Lu couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Fong, are you really not worried at all?" I thought for a moment and said, "Worrying is human nature, but it can't change anything. Whatever Fong Tingting becomes, it is the result of her own choices. I will not change my stance out of sympathy." Xiao Lu nodded and said no more. In the afternoon, my parents came again. This time, they didn't come to curse at me, but to beg me. Mom knelt at the door of my office, crying her heart out. "Xiaozhua, Mom is begging you, please go see Tingting. It's all Mom's fault that she's like this now. Don't blame her. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Mom is willing to take all the responsibility." Dad also knelt down. "Fang Zhua, Dad was wrong. Dad has really let you down all these years. But Tingting is innocent. She was just spoiled by us. Please go see her. Even just a single glance would be enough." I looked at the two elderly people kneeling on the floor, and my heart felt no ripples. "Fang Guorong, Li Xiufang, you've gotten one thing wrong." "What?" "Fang Tingting is not innocent," I said. "She enjoyed 26 years of favoritism, 26 years of privilege. That favoritism and privilege were bought with my pain. She enjoyed it all with a clear conscience for 26 years. And now that she's hit a setback, you say she's innocent? On what grounds?" My parents were speechless, because they knew I was right. Fang Tingting was indeed not innocent. She was a beneficiary of this injustice. And I continued, jumping off the building was her own choice. No one forced her, no one pushed her. She thought she could threaten me this way, but she ended up harming herself. This is called reaping what you sow. Mom cried even harder. "Xiaozhua, no matter what, she's in a vegetative state now. Can't you pity her?" "Pity?" I sneered. "Li Xiufang, when I suffered from your cold violence back then, did you ever pity me? And now you need me to pity Fang Tingting? On what grounds?" Every question was like a sharp knife, stabbing fiercely into their hearts. Because they knew this was all true. When I needed pity and love back then, they never gave it. Why should they demand that I give pity to Fang Tingting now? "Xiaozhua, Mom knows I wronged you in the past." Mom tried to say more. I interrupted her. "Li Xiufang, your apologies are too cheap. If sorry was useful, what would be the point of laws? If apologies could erase harm, there wouldn't be so much hatred in this world. Some things, once done, are done. Saying sorry doesn't change anything." I walked to the window, my back to them. "You should go. I won't go see Fang Tingting. Whatever she becomes has nothing to do with me." Behind me, I heard my mother's desperate cries. "Xiaozhua, are you really so heartless?" I didn't turn back. Heartless? Perhaps. But this is what you taught me. Now I'm just treating you the same way, and you can't take it? This is called giving a taste of one's own medicine. My parents were finally dragged away by security. As he was leaving, Dad suddenly turned his head and said viciously, "Fang Zhua, you'll get what's coming to you. Treating your family like this, you'll definitely get your retribution." I turned around and looked at him. The retribution has already arrived. It's now. As for me, I have a clear conscience. Dad's face turned pale. He couldn't say another word. After they left, silence returned to the office. I sat back in my chair and picked up the phone to call Su Qing. How are you? How are you feeling today? I'm okay, just a little tired. Su Qing's voice was very gentle. What about you? Did anyone bother you today? They came, but it's been handled. That's good. What do you want to eat tonight? I'll buy some groceries on my way home from work. Anything is fine, you decide. Okay, I'll get back to work then. See you tonight. See you tonight. Love you. I love you too. Hanging up the phone, I felt a wave of warmth. This is the true warmth of a family. It doesn't require blood ties. It doesn't require moral blackmail. It only requires treating each other with sincerity. Su Qing would never blame me for my decisions. She always supports me unconditionally. This is what real family should be like. When I got home that evening, Su Qing was already waiting for me on the sofa. Her belly was very noticeable now, looking very cute. Was the baby good today? I gently caressed her belly. Very good, didn't give me any trouble, Su Qing said with a smile. But he kicked me a few times in the afternoon. Maybe he was saying hello to his dad. I pressed my ear to her belly, as if I could hear the baby's heartbeat. Baby, daddy's home. Su Qing gently stroked my hair. Did they go to the company again today? You're not going to change your mind? I looked up at her. Do you want me to change my mind? Su Qing shook her head. No, I just wanted to confirm what you were thinking. I won't change it, I said firmly. No matter what happens, I will not change. Then I'm relieved, Su Qing smiled. I don't want our child to suffer that kind of unfair treatment in the future. I nodded. He won't. Our child, whether a boy or a girl, will receive the same amount of love. I will absolutely not repeat my parents' mistakes. That night, we talked for a long time. We talked about our future baby, about our educational philosophies, and about our understanding of fairness. I swear, I will never let my child experience the pain I once did. Boy or girl, they are our baby. 3 days later, I received a message. Fong Tingting was dead. She had held on in the hospital for 10 days, but in the end, she didn't make it. When I heard this news, I was in an important business meeting. Xiao Lu walked into the conference room and whispered it in my ear. I nodded and continued to preside over the meeting, as if I had just heard the weather forecast. After the meeting, my colleagues looked at me strangely, because they knew what Xiao Lu had just said. But my face showed no change in expression. Everyone, that's all for today's meeting. Dismissed. Everyone left the conference room one after another. Only I remained. I sat in my chair, looking at the sky outside the window. There was no ripple in my heart. Fong Tingting was dead. The princess who had been spoiled since childhood, the sister who had enjoyed 26 years of favoritism, the woman who ultimately chose to threaten me with her life, was dead. Should I feel sad? Should I feel guilty? Should I feel regret? No, I felt nothing. To me, she was just a stranger who happened to share blood with me. Her life and death had nothing to do with me. This was the path she chose for herself, the consequences she had to bear. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Su Qing. Fong Tingting is dead. Soon, Su Qing replied. Are you okay? I thought for a moment and replied, I'm fine. This matter is finally over. That's good. Come home early tonight. I'll make your favorite braised pork. Okay. Putting down the phone, I continued to handle my work, as if nothing had happened. I did not attend Fong Tingting's funeral, not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't invited. My parents hated me to the bone, so naturally they wouldn't invite this enemy. I was happy for the peace and quiet. On the day of the funeral, Su Qing and I went to the hospital for a prenatal checkup. Everything was normal. The baby was very healthy. The doctor said the due date was in 3 months. Do you want to know if it's a boy or a girl? The doctor asked. Su Qing and I looked at each other and both shook our heads. No, it's the same whether it's a boy or a girl, I said. The doctor smiled. There aren't many young parents who think like you nowadays. Really? Yes. Most people want to know the sex in advance, so they can prepare the corresponding items. I shook my head. There's no need. As long as the child is healthy, gender isn't important. Coming out of the hospital, Su Qing linked her arm through mine and said with a smile, You really don't want to know if it's a boy or a girl? I don't, I said firmly. No matter what, it's our baby. Sui nodded. I think so too. That afternoon, we went to a baby supply store and bought some neutral things. Little clothes, little shoes, little hats, all in yellow and green. The sales clerk asked us the baby's gender, and we both said we didn't know. The clerk was a little surprised, but still served us enthusiastically. On the way home, Su Qing suddenly said, "Honey, I think our child will be very happy." "Why?" "Because he will have a father who won't be biased, and a mother who won't be biased." I squeeze her hand. "Yes, our child will be very happy, because he will receive fair love, unconditional love." In the evening, as we were organizing the nursery, the doorbell suddenly rang. Su Qing went to open the door, and when she came back, her face was a little pale. "What's wrong?" I asked. It's your mother." I frowned. "What is she doing here?" She said she wants to see you one last time, that she has something important to tell you." I thought for a moment and said, "Let her in." A few minutes later, my mother walked into our home. She looked much older, her hair completely white, and her back more stooped. Fong Tingting's death had hit her hard. She stood in the living room, looking around, a hint of envy in her eyes. "Xiaozhua, your home is very warm." I didn't respond, just looked at her coldly. "Li Xiaofeng, what are you here for?" She took a box out of her bag. "This is what Tingting left for you." I didn't take it. "I don't need it." "Xiaozhua, just take a look," my mother said, crying. "This is the letter she wrote to you before she died. She said it must be handed to you personally." I still didn't take it. Su Qing looked at me and walked over to take the box. "I'll accept it for him." Mom nodded, then looked at me. "Xiaozhua, Mom wants to ask you one last question." "Go ahead. Do you really not regret it all?" I thought for a moment and answered seriously. "No regrets." "If you were given another chance to choose, would you make the same decision?" "I would." Mom's tears started falling again. "Why? She's your sister, after all." "Li Xiaofeng, let me ask you a question," I said. "If you could start over, would you still be so biased?" Mom was taken aback for a moment. You would, wouldn't you?" I interrupted her. "Because in your heart, a daughter is more important than a son. This is your value system. It can't be changed. Since you can't change, why should I compromise? Since you chose to be biased, you have to bear the consequences of that bias. This is karma." Mom was rendered speechless, because she knew I was right. If she could really start over, she would very likely make the same choice. Because in her mind, a daughter indeed needed more protection and doting than a son. "Xiaozhua, Mom wants to ask you for one last thing." "What?" "After your child is born, can you bring them for Mom to see?" I refused without hesitation. "Impossible." "Why?" "Because I don't want my child to be exposed to your kind of values," I said. "I don't want him to see what favoritism and unfairness are from a young age. I want to give him a pure environment to grow up in." Mom's face instantly turned deathly pale. "Xiaozhua, you won't even give Mom a chance to see the child?" "No." I was firm. "Li Xiaofeng, you've already ruined one generation. I won't let you ruin a second. My child will not repeat my tragedy." Mom collapsed onto the sofa, completely devastated. She knew that this time, she had truly lost me. Not only had she lost me, but she also wouldn't get to see her future grandson or granddaughter. "Xiaozhua, Mom was wrong. Mom really knows she was wrong," she said, crying. "It's too late." I looked at her. "Li Xiaofeng, some mistakes, once made, are made. Apologizing doesn't change anything. Some relationships, once broken, are broken. Crying can't mend them. There's no turning back on the path you've taken." Mom cried her heart out, but my heart felt no ripples. These tears were meaningless to me. If tears were useful, why weren't they soft-hearted when I cried back then? Now it was her turn to cry. Why should I be soft-hearted? As she left, she kept looking back, as if wanting to memorize my face. But I knew this was the last time. There would never be any intersection between us again. After she left, Su Qing picked up the box. "Want to open it and see?" I thought for a moment and said, "Forget it, throw it away." "Really not going to look?" "No." I was firm. The words of a dead person are meaningless to me. She didn't say it when she was alive, only thought of saying it after she died. It's too late. Su Qing nodded and put the box in the trash can. That night, we went to bed early. Su Qing lay in my arms, gently stroking her belly. "Honey, our baby will be happy, right?" "He will." I kissed her forehead. "Because we will give him the fairest love. Whether it's a boy or a girl, they will be the apple of our eye. We will absolutely not repeat the mistakes of my parents." Suin smiled. Then I'm relieved. 3 months later, our baby was born. It was a boy. When the nurse brought the child for me to see, My tears couldn't help but fall. This was my son, the continuation of my bloodline. I would give him the best love, the fairest treatment. I would absolutely not let him experience the pain I once went through. Honey, the baby is very healthy, Su Qing said with a weak smile. I held her hand. Thank you for giving me such a wonderful gift. This is our child, Su Qing said. The crystallization of our love. My father-in-law and mother-in-law also rushed to the hospital. Seeing their grandson, the two elders were overjoyed. My mother-in-law held the baby, her eyes full of loving kindness. Little precious, Grandma finally gets to see you. Father-in-law also came over to tease the child. This child looks like little Joie, with eyes like Ching Ching. Looking at this warm scene, my heart is filled with happiness. This is what a real family should look like. The end.